Tomorrow marks 6 months to the day that I have owned my Bambu Lab X1 Carbon. And well, sometimes I hate being right. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my Bambu Lab X1 Carbon, a printer that has been kind of wrought with controversy here on the channel. If you are new and don't know about what's going on with this printer, we'll card to a playlist and we'll link to it in the description down below so you can look at it. While you're doing that, make sure to leave a like and get subscribed. It helps the channel grow, and we're gonna do more videos like this as we try to sort out some of the QA and QC issues with the Bambu, and even further, delve into what actually makes it tick. We're gonna be going through the last 6 months of ownership of Bambu Lab 3D printers, with this one being my second one that was a replacement for my first one that was a lemon. We'll card to that video so you guys can take a look. This machine is same, but different. It has struggled heavily to produce good prints and producing parts that were garbage for over a month, failing every single job that it had, with Bambu Lab support being, honestly, had they never replied, it might have been more useful to me. The machine itself, when it works, impresses the ever-loving sin out of me, and Bambu Lab impresses me with how difficult it can be to work with their customer support. I will say, if you have a printer from Bambu Lab and it's been doing great for you, learn how to fix it yourself, because relying on the company is not going to be a good thing for you, especially right now. One thing you can rely on is content here on the 3D Musketeers channel. And if you do want to support us, links are in that description down below where you can support for as little as $1 a month via PayPal, YouTube memberships, and Patreon. And at the $10 tier and higher, you get to come over and hang out with myself and all the other Musketeers as we show you a lot of behind the scenes stuff, like all the real failures going on with this Bambu, chats with support, as well as some upcoming releases from the channel. That's your kind of thing. Those links are down there for you. But I think overall, the hardest thing for me has been really kind of dealing with the failures of this machine. Support has been telling me that, oh, it's related to my third-party build plate, and then it's related to these AMS feeders that I use. And while these feeders are not stock, they keep the stock feeder from getting destroyed from filament over time. These end up being your sacrificial pieces, and it goes right down the center of the first stage AMS feeder. So far with these on, I get better quality prints than I do when they are off, but Bambu Lab says that is the direct cause of every single one of my issues, and my build plate being third party. And I'm sorry, but extruder issues are not caused by something to better align your filament and reduce drag and a third-party build plate. This machine surprises me. One, with how good the parts can be, and then two, how often the freaking thing can fail. For over 4 weeks, we had 0% success running multiple prints a day, nothing but failures over and over and over. And working with support was a bit challenging. They would tell me to do some things, I would do those things, report back with photos and videos and tell them my experience, and then they would tell me that I'm changing the subject and they can only help me with one issue at a time, even though I did exactly what I was asked to do. I don't understand it either, but there is some training that needs to be done. I have made multiple requests to Bambu to work with me on this kind of thing. So far, they've been silent or outright denied my assistance. I kind of know what I'm doing, and I think I've gotten to the bottom of this printer problem. As I've said previous times, we got a little bit desperate, needed to print some carbon fiber polycarbonate, and with how hot it is here in Florida, I didn't want to bring a Prusa out into the shop here, then put a box over it. It's already 40+ degrees centigrade in this room, and I just turned off the air conditioning a couple of minutes ago so that we could film. So I said, all right, let me run some carbon fiber polycarbonate through the Bambu. And much to my surprise, it worked perfectly. After that, I ran some real crap PLA through the same AMS slot. Worked perfectly. So I ran the same G-code, but moved the filament to slot number 3. We were originally running in slot 4. It failed. Slot 2, it failed. Slot 1, it failed. Slot 4, it succeeded. I then went and ran carbon fiber in 3, 2, and 1, and then that crap PLA started working in those slots, which leads me to believe that we have some QA and QC issues, whether it is with a Bowden coupler being a little bit too tight, or maybe there was some metal that needed to be worn down a little bit by the carbon fiber, but apparently carbon fiber fixes a Bambu. What can't be fixed with carbon fiber? I'm gonna get some weird comments for that one. But ever since running that carbon fiber, we've been seeing much higher success rates, well above 50%. And while sometimes the prints do still need a little bit of help, we're getting the quality of prints that we could expect from a Bambu. The problem is, I still have a ton of anxiety about this machine failing on me, and coming into the shop and seeing it's been sitting for 6 hours, waiting for somebody to help it. Now, we can't update this machine, nor are we going to update it until we can really figure out what the log files entail, as well as the algorithms utilized by Bambu. As far as we can tell, they're AES encrypted, but we don't know to what level yet. It is a Spintrol MCU, similar to those used in DJI. I wonder why that would be. And for those that are following along, if you are in a government agency, you are banned from utilizing DJI quadcopters because of their issues with data security. I'm not saying anything. Actually, no, I am saying it. If you care about data security, this machine should worry you. So until we can really figure it out, my machine is not going to be updated. So yes, it is not running the latest firmware, but I can promise you firmware is not gonna polish some inside pieces. When it does run, the parts come out great. It is one of the loudest machines that we have in our shop, and that is mainly due to the chamber fan on the rear. Given that this machine is not open source, we are unable to replace that with a quieter fan if we wanted to maintain our warranty. So not too much we can do there. Now, some people have done this, and they don't really see a big change in chamber temperatures. But for me, I just turn the fan down, and if I need to leave the door open, I leave the door open. It doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. On even longer prints with something like ABS, it doesn't seem to care whatsoever because you don't even have the chamber fan on for most of those. We have the fan blowing from one side, and it will be over here on the machine itself. And that fan is great when you're printing materials like PLA and PETG, but you have to orient them correctly. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with some rough overhangs. I wish they would have two fans, but I know that can be a little bit complicated when it comes to dealing with those intersecting vortices. It's a little bit further than I want to get into thermodynamics today. I will say that this printer has some of the best fit and finish of any machine that I have seen in anywhere near this price class. The next thing that has fit and finish as nice as a Bambu Lab 3D printer is something that comes off of Formlab's production line. Whether it is the Form 3, the Form 3L, or even the Fuse 1 Plus, it looks like a machine that could end up in an engineering office. But as I said previously, you shouldn't put these in engineering offices. If you are the type of end user that doesn't exactly care about what happens to your personal data, then these machines might work great for you. But similarly, if you're into the PC overclocking world, you know that there's a silicon lottery where you can get a good chip or a bad chip. And it appears that it's something similar with these machines as well. And unfortunately, I have not drawn the right straw for the 2 times that I've gotten one of these machines. Now, I have paid for this machine myself. Bambu is not supporting this channel. It would be kind of weird if they did, but you know, hey, I'm open to it. And so I'm allowed to be upset at my experience. And before you say, well, my Bambu is working great, cool. Mine isn't. And that should not discount my experience. I'm not going to say that your machine is working well to discount your experience. Everybody's experience is going to be a little bit different. As a content creator, it is my responsibility to tell you guys what I'm dealing with. And I'm dealing with a printer that is unreliable at best, and honestly causes me more anxiety than some of my exes. So, you know, take that for whatever you want. Honestly, similar red flags, really, when you think about it. Now, after running carbon fiber through everything, runs just fine, even with these custom parts. Of course, we'll link to them in the description if you're the type of person that doesn't want to replace parts arbitrarily because a company has designed them to wear out. That little funnel on your AMS feeder is designed to wear out. You can print a part so that it never wears out. Why would you go through the effort of completely tearing apart your AMS feeder when you could just print a part to put on top of it and it would work just fine? I would say the one complaint that I have about the mechanics of the machine is that it ends up leaving a bunch of shmoo underneath your build plate. And that the lead screw in the back is not protected. You not only have your bed cable that can get caught on that lead screw, but you can also get a bunch of crap back there that isn't the easiest thing to remove. Now, there are some files out there that put a little ramp on the front of the machine so you can easily just sweep the material out of the machine. And I do like that, but it still doesn't solve the problem that we've got an exposed rear lead screw that is back behind a panel. Putting in some brushes or something there that the machine could just move up and down through would solve this problem, but of course, increase production cost. I am still astounded that a machine with all of these things together that looks this good, and when it performs well, can perform as well as it does, can be as cheap as it is. I think if I had just gone about fixing the problems myself, I would have likely had a better experience with this machine, because I had told them from the beginning that I believe it has something to do with extra drag somewhere in the system, and that I would like to take a look at those pieces and see. They told me, no, you cannot do that. They wanted me to remove the AMS, which is actually pretty easy. It's just pulling out one Bowden tube and removing the connector on the back. You can then go ahead and print without the AMS. And I still had the same issues, which leads me to believe that there was some sort of further issue either in the Bowden system of the printer or on the extruder. Bambu Labs said that I was now changing the subject when I did that, even though I followed their directions. I will say that you, as a user, might have better luck fixing the printer yourself. And I know that Bambu Lab is working on getting better. In fact, they recently put out a 1-year in review for their company, and I actually really liked it. We'll card to that video so you guys can take a look at it. They called out one of the major issues that I have, which is customer support. Something that I called over a year ago for their company was going to be a problem is absolutely a problem. And back then I offered my assistance. It was never taken, and I'm still going to offer my assistance. Bambu, you know my email. You know how to reach me. In fact, you know my personal email. I am here to help, and I will be happy to donate some of my time to make sure that we can solve some of these customer support issues moving forward. I want people to have better experiences because you guys have done something that no early manufacturer has ever done. You have distributed in the United States. You have distributed to companies like Matter Hackers and Micro Center, where people can literally walk into a store, buy a printer, and go home with it. This is not something that you see from a company that at the time of those deals was less than 1 year old, or at least less than 1 year of delivering printers. That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I commend them for doing that. That's a lot of work. But then we see things like what recently happened, where they adopted some things from Orca Slicer, except what they actually did was just copy all of Orca Slicer into Bambu Studio, which, as long as they said they did this kind of thing, is okay, but they didn't. And even further, customer support has said for months to not use Orca Slicer because it produces corrupt G-code. Well, if they just merged all of Orca Slicer with Bambu Studio, and they're telling you that it's producing corrupt G-code, are you telling me that maybe it doesn't produce corrupt G-code and Bambu is just trying to keep you inside of their specific slicer and not use one that is made by community members with, you know, better openness to adding other machines? And while Bambu is still working on their slicer, and they've adopted some of those principles, obviously, it seems like they're looking at a community saying, oh, you made that? I made this. And their supporters are gonna let them get away with it because for some reason people don't seem to care as much as they used to. We were going to be looking at the brand new Bambu beta, but considering it just seems to be Orca Slicer, we're gonna look at Orca Slicer next week. So if you want to see my reaction to Orca Slicer and if I'm gonna switch over to it, stay tuned and get subscribed because that's definitely coming. So where does this leave me and my Bambu and what I think about Bambu as a company? I'm not mad at them. In fact, I'm really just kind of disappointed. I was excited for this experience, you know, like a young kid at the holidays unwrapping their favorite new toy. Oh my God! Because nobody has ever put all of this into one package before. All of the things that we see inside of the Bambu are not unique. Core XY is not unique. LiDAR on a printer is not unique. Touch-based bed leveling, not unique. Piezo electric bed leveling, not unique. In fact, one of our staff designed one of the first ones ever out there. The one big unique thing they did do is the integration with this AMS. And while a single nozzle multicolor is nothing new, it's been done for years. Their AMS has got to be one of the best interpretations of this system I have ever seen. The failover works beautifully, and while I've never messed with multicolor because I'm still kind of making sure that it can do single color, I see a lot of beautiful multicolor models, and the slicer integration, honestly, chef's kiss, beautiful. I'm excited to see what comes out of the company moving forward. I don't want them to fail. I know a lot of you think I do. I don't. I believe they've got promise, but they need to partner with people, not just people that will champion them, but people that will also criticize them. I honestly can't think of a bigger critic than us, certainly not one with as big of a voice as we have. I'd like to work with you guys and try to help you solve some of these problems. I have worked in logistics. This is part of my job, is doing logistics for people, and built many printers myself from scratch with minimal instructions, and most of them still work, although most of them have been heavily upgraded since we built them. They've made a really beautiful printer that, when it does work, is the fastest printer that we currently own. It is one of the louder printers that we currently own, but you know, that's kind of part and parcel of what you get when you go speed. With speed comes noise. But I will say right now, can't recommend them. With the P1P dropping in price, that's amazing. Seeing it being under 600 bucks, it's $599 plus taxes and shipping, you'll end up being over 600 bucks. But to see a printer with that much horsepower behind it being that affordable is honestly disturbing how cheap companies can actually make things. And it makes me wonder what is actually in those log files and data that is sent back to Bambu, because $600 for a P1P, there's no chance they're making money on that. And if they are, it ain't much. It's not enough to sustain a company of their size. Let me tell you that. If you are the type of user that doesn't really care about network security, doesn't really care what you're sending a company, and doesn't particularly care about a closed ecosystem, then yeah, this might be a great printer for you. But if you care even a minor amount about your network security, about your identity, about your information, and the things that you do online and offline, you should really think twice about buying one of these machines. Their network security is terrible. And while they do encrypt everything, it didn't take us very long to figure out the MCU that they're using. And it didn't take us very long to figure out that you can also decrypt with that MCU. Video coming soon. I want to see more out of them. And while Bambu has done one of the best implementations of a closed ecosystem that I have ever seen, yeah, you heard it here. While I don't like closed ecosystems, I think they've done it right. The parts are relatively affordable, with hot ends being as low as like 20 bucks. Even now the X-axis is available at 90 bucks, which is not cheap, but it's not all that expensive either. The big issue is the amount of labor that it takes to replace it. These machines were not designed to be repaired. They were designed to be thrown away. I can't imagine that Bambu does a lot of repairing themselves. It is likely easier to salvage parts from these machines and then throw away what is left. And that worries me for the future of these machines when the company stops deciding to support it. We don't know what that looks like because Bambu hasn't been around long enough for us to really get a feel for what they're going to do in the future. And that is the kind of thing that worries me as someone that wants a machine to work for them long term. It's why when we looked at printer companies that we wanted to have in our shop, we chose Prusa because they have a long-standing history of even updating printers that are 7-8 years old to keep them running as close to the top end that they can. And while yes, the MK4 is a kind of different machine altogether, it is very expensive, it is also fully open source. They have their entire slicer team that they do for Prusa Slicer, which of course Bambu Studio is based upon. They have printables, which is free, unless there's a membership thing involved, but the bulk of it is completely free for you to use. These are all things that cost Prusa money, and don't forget the absolute top-notch customer support, something that we're not seeing yet with Bambu. And while I recognize you get a lot of value for the money here, that value comes with a lot of red flags to me that I'm a little hesitant about. Red flags that I kind of called but ignored because I really wanted to experience it myself. And yeah, I should have listened to myself. Let's go with that. I'm gonna give this printer, if we look at it for the entire time that I've owned it, about a 4.5 to 6 out of 10. That's at best. A 6 is the top mark that I can give this machine. If we look at it in the past month or so that I've owned the machine, where we've worked on it, we fixed a lot of the problems, I'm gonna give it closer to a 7 or even a 7.5. Yeah, it's been working a lot better, but I shouldn't have to go through the effort that I did to get to that point. And since Bambu's not going to offer me a replacement, they're only offering a refund, I'm just going to keep working on this machine. They have a 1-year warranty, and I'm still within my rights to do what I can to fix it myself. I can't currently recommend this machine. While there's nothing else really on the market that comes close to this in terms of performance, in terms of value, there are other options. Of course, there's the Creality K1, but if you care about network security, you would have ignored that machine to begin with. There's the Cheaty Tech X-Max 3, which hopefully we'll be able to take a look at one. If you guys know anybody at Cheaty Tech, let me know. I'd love to take a look at it, because that machine specifically appears to be open clipper, all based upon open source. And while the machine itself is not open source, it looks like a pretty stout machine, even using steel tubes rather than carbon fiber tubes, which should make a little bit easier of a machine to service. But I will say, this machine is impressive. It's impressive when it fails, and it's impressive when it succeeds. I am always impressed. As it stands, I think Bambu needs to address this issue with all the encryption. It's not a good look in this industry. And when they're also actively stealing from other developers, that is also something that really upsets me. And we need to see these issues addressed before I can look at recommending these machines. And I have to look at rectifying my problems before I can really look at recommending them. With that being said, there are links to Bambu products in the description down below. They are not affiliate links, so go forth and click without a risk. There is hope. And with Bambu getting the distribution that they've gotten, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. I am curious to see what comes of the X1 and P1 platforms. They've got a lot going for them. If they could just take into account the overall industry as a whole, at least on the consumer side, and really address some of the major concerns by customers, this thing could be a lot better. Part of me says, give them time and have a little faith. The other part of me says, if they don't fix their support, it's going to be an absolute metric disaster. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. And if you're having issues with Bambu, toss them down there as well, and I'll do what I can to help you out. I feel like I've been through the ringer with these machines at this point. That's all I have for you all today. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video, and a massive thank you goes out to all of our channel supporters whose names are listed right next to me at the $5 tier and higher. If you want to kick a couple of bucks into that creator fund, you can do so in the links in that description down below. Right below me will be my first look at a Bambu printer, where we unbox my first ever X1 Carbon, which unfortunately, as you'll see in the video next to it, turned into a bit of a lemon. I'll see y'all down in those comments and in the next one. Take care.